The day after baseball's All-Star game, traditionally, one of the quietest on the sports calendar. Today, not so much.
Not so much. A 4 a.m. flurry of activity in the newsroom.
Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green going north, and DeMar DeRozan, Jacob Poeltl, and a protected 2019 first-round pick going back to San Antonio.
Take us through how this thing began and how they got to the finish line.
They've been talking seriously, really, in the last several days. They had been communicating, really, over the last couple of weeks, Toronto and San Antonio. This is really the best offer the Spurs had. Boston, Philadelphia, the Lakers never gave them that kind of frontline player like a DeMar DeRozan. And the Spurs want to stay relevant. They want to stay in the playoffs. They wanted a player they could insert in now who could be, an all-star in DeRozan.
Well, I was told that Kawhi Leonard really has no desire to play in Toronto. We all know his preferences over the last couple of months. That was to play for one of the teams in Los Angeles, preferably the Lakers. I was also told that last resort was the Eastern Conference team in the Philadelphia 76ers. Those three teams were not able to get anything done. So I was told he's not too thrilled with this move, but he's a professional. I expect him to eventually head up there and be there for camp. But this is going to be something where the Raptors are going to have to kind of have like a peace meeting and try to welcome him into the franchise.
Both of these guys have said they don't really want this deal to go. They're not happy with all this. How does that work for a player like that?
This is where I have to say, be a professional.
So he ain't happy. It looks like Kawhi's not going to be happy because he may be going to Toronto, which I believe is the exact opposite of Los Angeles.
Yeah. What did you say about Toronto?
The Los Angeles of Canada.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone knows
He
that.
just didn't specify which Los Angeles he wanted to be traded
Bring
to.
your passport and your winter coat.
Running through the six with my Woj.
All right, she is America's best-known San Antonio Spurs fan. Michelle Beadle, the deal has been done. The room is excited.
Nice.
What happened, guys? Did you just lose $80 million because you didn't want to stay in San Antonio? I didn't. That is insane.
My initial reaction was Toronto won because even though they only get Kawhi Leonard for a year, even though no, he's going to the Lakers.
If I played this show from a year ago,
He's going to
you'll
Lakers.
say that PG-13 was only going to be in Oklahoma City for a
care
year.
about him.
This is a great move for the Raptors, and if he leaves after this year and walks away from his fifth year and $40 million, or his potential super max that could be $60 or $70 million. Guess what you just did, Adnan? You actually rebuilt a squad that got swept from the playoffs the last 2 years because you have the salary cap flexibility of DeRozan being traded and Kawhi obviously walking away. So it's a great move by the Raptors.
Jalen.
We're going to have to wait probably a year or so to really know if there's a winner or loser here, because this is one of the more bizarre star trades I've seen in the last 15 years covering the NBA, because we don't know about Kawhi Leonard's health. That's a really important factor here.
Here's what we know about the Raptors. The way they're built is not good enough, and their two best players weren't good enough. They needed a player better than their two best players. They just got one of them, but they had to get rid of one of them to get him.
So I appreciate that the Raptors have made moves. I didn't like the dishonesty from DeMar DeRozan, but DeMar, you didn't see what happened to Coach Casey? Okay? Yeah. So as I break it down, they can compete. They can compete. And as constructed, I didn't give them a chance in the East. And now they got something for us to talk about.
Oh, I love Toronto. Toronto is one of the best cities in the NBA by far. This is the thing for DeMar, right? This is a part that's tough. The first breakup is always the hardest. The first breakup is always the hardest when you don't see it coming.
I've heard that, he wanted to be in L.A., so it's going to be a tough situation. If Toronto can pull something amazing off, get Drake out there, help them somehow, get them to sign.
So if Drake this is a Drake situation.
I've already seen him there in the spring, though. I've never seen him in December and January games. He's already there
only when it's sunny. Now, they're going to really need some help to get him, because like you said, you lose your franchise player for someone who obviously is top 2 or 3 in the game, but like I said, is it going to be a one-year rental, or will it turn into something long-term?
You can't tell me DeRozan's the same player as Kawhi Leonard, because that isn't the case. DeRozan's a terrific scorer, and he's a wing, but he's limited. Kawhi Leonard is an elite player. He can rebound, he can defend much better than DeRozan, and he can score at will. If Kawhi goes back to the guy we saw 2 years ago when he was top 5 in the NBA, that's a talent upgrade for Toronto.
But this is the thing about Toronto, having an individual that wants to be there.
You know why you do, Kawhi?
you felt the physical. That's all.
That's right.
That's right. That's what you got to do.
You go in there limping, you knock something over, you yell at the training staff. Just fail the physical.
Sportsfeld! It is Sportsfeld Storytime. This time we're looking into the not-so-distant past. We're keeping it fairly recent. We've decided the time is right. We're finally here. It's finally time to talk about the 2019 Toronto Raptors. Specifically, we're looking back at the shot. Kawhi Leonard's miracle against the Philadelphia 76ers. I know we have, obviously we were back at this point. We have Sportsfeld episodes from this era, but talking about this, realized we didn't have anything from the Kawhi Leonard acquisition, and now we have the hindsight of how everything plays out, where they go, what comes from that, where it ranks sort of in terms of the franchise. And now that 2019 team is not broken up, but 4 of the major actors and many of the important guys are no longer around, a chance to look back and appreciate what an incredible moment that was as fans, and how incredible it was to experience in the city and with everything that went into it. Really, just honestly, Jake, just a truly, looking back at it already just 2 years later, it's just like an unprecedented run of success.
It's one of those things that, even though, to your point, was not long ago by any means, it sort of feels like it didn't happen. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where, I remember very clearly living through the bat flip. I remember last year's playoffs very well. I remember the 2018 playoffs very well. But 2019 was so crazy, and maybe because it was just with Kawhi, this one season firecracker kind of thing, it really sort of just, I don't know, I have memories of it. It's not like I forget the whole thing, but it kind of feels like a fever dream in a lot of ways.
Totally. And so many of the different factors that went into it, add up that way. As not only was it all these perfect things coming together, but the individual moments that made it up seem so far-fetched and unbelievable that when you look back at them, I can't believe that's the way that went down. It just there's so many of them in a row.
Which I wonder if that is just what happens when you win, because we've talked about this many times, that every championship team, except maybe the crazy dynasty teams, which are just expected to win, every sort of upstart championship team has a series of moments that eventually you look back on and you're yes, again, to tie back to 2015 Jays, because that's what we do. There's the bat flip, there's the Marco Estrada near perfect game, there's the Marco Estrada playoff game, there's Jose tying it up against the Royals. There's just all these moments. They're yes, these are all insane moments that add up to a championship, but that team lost. So is that why we don't sort of look at it the same way, where it's wow, the Raptors had all these crazy things happen, which they did, but they won, so it sort of goes into this different world? I don't know. But I do think it's just sort of, there were so many things that season and so many individual games, regular season games. They're just man, what a ride that year was.
Incredible. And it all starts in 2018. I'm looking back. I have Adrian Wojnarowski. We got Big Woj. We have basically looking at his timeline from that summer, and it's sort of incredible. In mid-June, he's if Kawhi does become available in trade talks, the Celtics are interested. San Antonio's Kawhi Leonard has Los Angeles, preferably the Lakers, at the center of his demands for a trade. It's so funny. He goes forward. It's sources. LeBron signs with the Lakers on July 1st, right? And Woj follows up with sources. As trade talks have unfolded, Kawhi's focus is unchanged. He wants to be a Laker. Very specific. And then the Raptors sort of come out of nowhere here, and they're slowly, you start to hear them a little bit. And I think as Raptors fans at the time, I don't know about you, at no point did I believe for a fucking second they were getting Kawhi Leonard. No chance.
I did and I didn't. I didn't basically because of what you just said. And it was like, oh, okay, he doesn't want to come here. I also didn't know what our trade chips were for a guy of his caliber. Because, like, obviously now looking at it's fucking crazy they traded DeMar DeRozan. Like,
and yeah, to follow up on that, it's immediately after this. Like, it's crazy that, like, what it takes to trade for a star now, what it took to trade for Paul George, what it took to trade for, like, Russell Westbrook, who's washed up, for James Harden. Like, it takes, like, 8 to 10 draft picks now to get a guy like Kawhi Leonard. It's crazy.
Yeah. And, like, obviously the right move, the right trade. I'm not going to get into that conversation, but, like, I remember looking at being like, boy, it'd be nice to get, like, obviously it'd be nice to get Kawhi, but, like, it was kind of like our pieces there were like, okay, so it's got to be OG and Pascal, a couple picks, maybe even Kyle. Like, it was the fact that it was Pirtle and DeMar will never be like just like an unbelievable trade. So to answer your question, I didn't think we were going to get him because I just didn't see how it could match up for 1 year of a guy and mortgaging the future and all that. Because, like, especially now looking back at the Raptors team winning, the things that we thought we would have to give up, we needed to win the title.
Yes, absolutely. So we play a little game of where were you when? Jake, where were you July 18th, 2018 at 4:23 a.m.?
I was sitting on the toilet is where
Amazing.
I was. I very fortuitously had one of those nights where I just like could not sleep. I woke up at like 3 a.m. and was just like awake. This was in my time of being unemployed, so I was doing this a lot because I was just like stressed out. And I was just like awake, and I was sort of, I guess, like, or like half awake, so it was 4 a.m. And I was on the toilet scrolling Twitter as you do at 4 a.m., hoping that there'd be something interesting going on, which there isn't on East Coast Twitter at 4:23 a.m. And then saw Woj's tweet and thought it was a fake account. And it took me a few minutes, and then I believe he had a follow-up tweet a few minutes later to clarify what was going on, or just like to update it. Because I remember being awake at like 7, because I didn't sleep the rest of the night, obviously. I remember being awake and talking with our friend Chris Lund in our group chat, because I had messaged our group chat being like, holy shit. Obviously nobody was awake, so it was 4:30 a.m. Lund was up first, and I remember him saying, oh, okay, well, let's wait and see what the package is going the other way.
Smart.
So I feel like we didn't know for a few hours what the package was.
4:23, the tweet is, Toronto is close to a deal to acquire Spurs All-Star Kawhi Leonard. League sources tell Chris B. Haynes and me. Trade package includes DeMar DeRozan, league sources tell ESPN. Half an hour later, he tweeted out an article, pretty much the same information. And then it was 8:12 a.m. Toronto has reached an agreement in principle to acquire Kawhi Leonard in a package that includes DeMar DeRozan, league sources tell ESPN. Trade is larger on both sides, with players still being informed of their inclusion in the deal. Trade call with the league today.
Right. And then, so I remember it was like, okay, so it's going to be DeMar and OG, or DeMar and Pascal, and maybe JV. Like, it's crazy in retrospect how that was even like a question. Of like,
8:58.
We'll see.
8:58 a.m. Spurs agreed to trade Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green to Toronto for DeMar DeRozan, Jakob Poeltl, and a protected 2019 first-round pick. Trade call with league office is starting shortly.
Yeah, and then it was like, then the conversation immediately shifted from let's see to like, that can't be it.
Truly.
It was, I mean, for some people, there was a lot of outrage, which I feel like people were mad and like questioning this deal. And then there was the whole narrative of, will he even play in Toronto, which is so funny now.
This is the part that's hard. That's like, it's hard to believe, but it was absolutely true. Is not only did people think he wasn't going to report or he wasn't going to play. I remember my friend Andy, who is generally a very smart basketball guy. His concern was that Kawhi would come and not play hard.
Yeah.
Which is like laughable now to look back at it. And there was also the idea of like, he hasn't played in 2 years. Really, maybe he's not that good anymore. there was a ton of reasons that people were like, oh man, this is not, I'm so worried that they're giving up on a 50-win team.
Right. They were just the 1 seed the year before. Also, another funny story from the morning Kawhi got traded. My then girlfriend, I don't think we were even engaged yet. Wait, when did we get engaged? 2018 or 2019? 2018. We were engaged. My fiance was worried when she woke up because I had woken up at 3 a.m, not gone back to sleep, and was very clearly awake and on my phone from like 4:30 onwards. And she was kind of like, did that like 7:30 in the morning, like, is everything okay kind of question, because I was just like, so like, it was such a crazy thing and like very justifiably concerned for my well-being. But yeah, it was just that a sports team made a trade.
Well, that's about as big as things get, man.
It's true.
Unbelievable. Raptors would, by the way, the Raptors would come out and go 12-1 to start the year. So pretty okay, if you ask me. Incredible. Yeah, just like bananas. Hard to believe it even happened. I was obviously I was not awake. Only you were awake of people I know. But holy cow! One of the unbelievable sort of things. I got to go to the season opener that year, which is sort of crazy. Believe it or not, I made Blue Jays jokes about this. I tweeted all these sports transactions in Toronto are merely setting the stage for the epic J.A. Happ traded for a 22-year-old outfielder playing in high A. I woke up and tweeted pretty neat at 8:34 a.m. Good old me. And he responded with Blake responded with transactions. I did not tweet about this very well. Shame. Other than I tweeted he turned Bargnani into a trade piece for Kawhi Leonard, which is true. Crazy. Let's see if your tweets were any better.
Oh, my tweets are long gone from then, I think.
No.
Oh no, they exist. They're probably not better.
You tweeted OG and Siakam stay ? I'm into it a lot. Then this is ... a good trade. This is all 9 a.m.
Been awake for 5 hours at this point.
8:46. John Tavares and Kawhi Leonard both play here now. That is cool. Oh, yeah, John Tavares had just happened.
Yeah.
I'll always love DeMar DeRozan more than any other player. As a player, as a dude, lucky to have him. On the other hand, Kawhi Leonard is a Raptor. Good point, Jake.
Accurate.
Excited for a full season of but what if Masai can sell him on staying, which is exactly what happened. Yep. 720, has there ever been a less fun trade where your favorite team is acquiring an MVP candidate? Good for you, Jake.
Thanks, man.
You're a good guy.
It is fun. It's funny how like that, but that was like the sentiment. It was weird to see DeMar go, which I completely understand and obviously felt the same. But like, it's bonkers to me that people were like mad.
But then we saw Kawhi Leonard play.
Cavaliers, and now taking it away is Green. Lead pass Lowry to the trailing Leonard, and the easy bucket.
What I tell you, you get a layup, it gets you going, and you got a chance to practice every day against LeBron James. That makes you a better player.
Kyle the deep three, rack it up as Lowry drills it. Lead also in.
Serge went through an extensive stretching exercise before he got into the game there.
Nice take by Kawhi Leonard.
A little blown by that time by Kawhi Leonard.
The rebounds, the offensive rebounds. Here's Leonard. Rebound, pushing it. Leonard, crossover from the elbow. The J in the sweet touch.
She wanted that one that time.
Foul was on Osman. Here's Leonard back in, finds Kyle. Corner three, and Lowry connects. 4:22 left here in the first half. JV with the three. And it doesn't go. Leonard on the offensive glass. The claw grabs it.
Shot's not going. And Kawhi Leonard, you see him down low. He gets inside position on Rodney Hood. He just takes the youngster to school and physically punishes him in there.
And things changed. He had that no look diving steal. Remember the early on? It was like he wasn't even paying attention, and he'd steal behind his back. They went 12-1 out of the gate. Then they lost 3 straight. Then they once again went on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 game winning streak. Then one loss. They were unbelievable. And Kawhi, the funny thing was Kawhi wasn't even like, he was obviously very good, but he hadn't been like outstanding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he was good, and people were. I remember I did a radio hit at that point in Vancouver, and the host tried to bait me into like not liking load management. Remember how much load management was like a hot topic?
Yes.
And I was like, you're not going to get me to do this. Like he can not play at all as long as he plays in the playoffs, because playoff Kawhi Leonard is the whole point. He would average 26.5 points per game and 7 rebounds and 3 assists and almost 2 steals. Whatever. Say what you want.
There were so
unbelievable.
To your point, there were so many like fun like random games this season. Like to your point about like the moments, like I have this I'm trying to find the date now. I have this very clear memory of, let me find it. We played Portland, I believe. Yeah, it was March 1st of 2019. I remember I had gone to dinner with Cassie's parents, and then after dinner we went to our local pub, and the Raptors were playing. It was the city jersey night. I remember that, because it was like a big black and gold jersey, and it was just like casually going to a bar on a Saturday night and watching Kawhi put up 38, including the game winner.
Raptors are not going to take their time out. They're going to give it to Kawhi. Well, you have plenty of time here. You got plenty of time to get a good shot. Matched up against Harkless. They'll play 2-man game here. Lillard gets switched on to him. Kawhi for the win. Oh, there it is. Kawhi clutch. No timeout. No timeout. And that's the ball game. Raptors win it. Kawhi Leonard. How do you like him now? How about one of the toughest shots in basketball is the midpoint area, halfway between the basket, and he goes right for it, and the sideline. That is a tough shot because it has to be a swish or you get a lucky bounce like they got right there. That hit the rim. Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4 times before falling through. Well, he loves that side of the floor. He's been doing it all night long, and he's been throwing the fade away every time from that side. He gets you down in there, and then all of a sudden he'll do the fade. He creates the space. Let's go courtside to Israel. And it was just like, this rules. This is so
and it was
good.
like the shot. He sort of did the shot that day.
Or like the week before with DeMar's return and like stealing the ball from DeMar to clinch the game, and it kind of being like, oh, I feel so bad for DeMar, but also that was so fun.
Left that one short. DeRozan with the rebound. Spurs up by 1. And a turnover. Leonard. Raptors lead it. They ripped DeRozan at midcourt.
Well, Adrian Griffin was signaling to Kyle, come up and pressure. Kawhi's long arms looked like he got a piece of it first. DeMar in trouble. Look at the long reach of Kawhi Leonard. One star against the other. Trade partners.
It was just like or even like little random games. Like I remember here we go, February 7th against the Atlanta Hawks. Kawhi didn't even play, and Pascal just put up 33, and it was like, oh, Siakam might be legitimately really good.
It's unbelievable that they didn't have to add Siakam or OG to this deal. It's like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that they didn't put those guys in this deal.
Or like Kawhi putting up 45 against the Jazz on New Year's Day. Like just little games of like, man, he was so good, and this team was. I think because they ended up finishing with the 2nd seed, they were like, that first half of the year was, I don't remember it being that good.
Yeah, I remember it being like we were almost, it was team, because I guess again at this point they were still a disappointing playoff team, and we were still dealing with like, does he enjoy it? Will he stay? Will he go? Load management, all these other things. It was still sort of hard to fully appreciate what was happening, but we will leave it after the February 5th game. They beat the 76ers 119-107. Raptors are 39-16, but the team's not quite. It's not quite. It's just not quite. Serge is playing well, but DeLon Wright, Greg Monroe is the backup center. There's little room for one extra player, and we will get into that trade deadline, that big deal, and the rest of the season and the beginning of the playoff run in the next episode next week on Sportsfeld Storytime.